Okay, after the gesso dried, I drew a large square on my sketch pad paper, and I separated into 4 squares. So you can do that any way you want and in any size you want. It's good to have a fairly good size because, you know, then you'll have a good surface to work in. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the surfaces. Each surface is going to be covered with gesso. The medium. So the first thing I'm going to do is just cover the first square with the molding paste, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And that's the first square, and the second square, do the same. Doesn't have to be super thick, but you do want it to be thick enough to where when you put something on it, it creates a texture. So this is my second square. This is the square that I'm going to draw in. That's actually what I'm going to do with this square. This square here, I'm going to actually use a stamp. This square, I'm going to use a stencil. And the fourth square, I'm going to actually embed something into the molding paste. Okay, so the fourth square should be fairly thick so that you can actually embed an object into the, you know, I'm showing you these different surfaces. Of course, you could combine it on one surface. I'm just showing you different techniques. So, okay, so the first square is we're just going to use a stamp. So you take any stamp that you want to use and stamp into the molding paste to create a texture. And you can use 2 or 3 stamps if you want to create the texture. Okay, you won't really see the imprint of the stamp until it's dry, but that's the idea when you do your stamp. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually use a stencil. So when I have stencils, I don't really use them as is. I cut them apart and just use the shapes because, you know, I don't really want strawberries or leaves or whatever, but I can actually use the stencil. So you can buy stencils, you know, that are like at the scrapbook store, and you can even make your own stencils. I mean, they're really easy to make. That may be something I do in another demo. But anyway, I'm going to take the molding paste on the knife, and I'm just going to spread it just like you would. This a little too thick. Spread it in the holes of the stencil, just like you would spread something on, you know, butter actually, just like a piece of bread with butter on it. You just kind of spread it over the holes, and then you lift the stencil up, and what you'll have is, again, an imprint and texture. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a pointed, well, I'll use the knife here. The knife, I'm going to use this to create some line drawings and just draw inside the molding paste. So you can just do little circles, you know, just to create some design. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to embed something into the stencil or into the molding paste. you know, you can use lace, you can use, as I said, you can use netting. If it's thick enough, you can even embed rocks or stones, shells, things like that. But what I like to do is I like to create a surface because I'm going to be painting over this. So what I want to use is I just want to use the fabric or whatever I'm using. I just want to embed it in the molding paste to create a surface. So you can just tear it and just get a piece. You can actually just, you know, you can embed almost anything in it, depending on how thick the molding paste is. You can use it like a glue, adhesive. But this would make a very interesting surface for you know, a painting or a collage or mixed media. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some molding paste over the surface so that it doesn't really show as fabric, but it just shows as texture. Because when this dries, it will create a relief. And at that point, you can paint it and you can put some really, really wonderful layers on here. Okay, so you've got, the first one was done with a stamp, the second one was done with a stencil, the third one you drew into, and you can even like write something that you really don't want anybody to see, but you want to just maybe put it in your mixed media piece. And then you also will have a surface created with different kinds of fabric and different kinds of things that have texture in them. Okay, so those are the 4 different techniques. Now the important thing is you really need to let this dry before you do the next step. So depending on your, you know, where you live or whatever, it actually will dry fairly fast. But what I will do is probably come back later on today and do this second layer. So I will demonstrate the second layer in the next video. Okay, so thank you.